on your behalf because we're fighting on your behalf.
All right,
so you hear how he spins it?
I'm playing this.
The attorney and this guy here who's making a joke out of it. And in exchange, so what happened is he came over here in this country when he was finished. And while he was waiting to see if he could become a citizen of this country, he got high and he got deported
back to his country.
So
so this video, I put it on the internet the other day, and what day was that? November 11th. It's the 15th. And hello, everyone. So I put the video on the other day, and I made a comment, and my comment was erased. So I put the comment back up, and the comment was erased again. So I put the comment back up. And the first the comment that I put up, it was about what they're talking about specifically. He's specifically talking about, I eventually had to go to congress.gov to get the information. This 14 pages is the whole bill in its entirety. S3212. It has to do with what another video that I made, about Jasmine, Representative Jasmine Crockett and Margaret Taylor Greene having an argument over lipstick and eyelashes and hair and built bodies and this and that. While all of that was going on, this stuff was going on. So you might say, well, what's the difference? This happened this year, and these bills happened in 2021. Actually, these bills started, and they are laws. They are laws that were on our books in our country for 20, 30, 40, and 50 years, dealing with what citizens can a pathway to citizenship, and who cannot have a pathway through citizenship. So this video specifically deals with this bill. Veteran Deportation Prevention and Reform Act. Why do you need a bill, an act to deal with veteran deportation and veteran reform? What is she talking about? We don't know what she's talking about. These things don't exist. Why is this lady saying this? Why is she making a comment about this? Because this bill, sometime in the 1980s, there was a man who came seeking asylum, or a woman who sought asylum. And there was a woman or man. They eventually got together, and they had a child, and that child grew up 20 years later and got into Congress. Well, that child's name is Senator Alex Padilla. His parents one was seeking asylum, came here the legal way, and one just snuck across the border. I believe one is from Mexico, and one is from either El Salvador or somewhere like that, right? I believe it is. One is El Salvador, and the mother is from Mexico, father from El Salvador. So they came here, one legally and sought a legal path, and the other one illegally, and became legal citizens. They had a child. Then their child got into Congress locally through the local through the local elections. Then got into our Senate, right? Once their child got into our Senate, they got with other people, and he got in our Senate, looked at an old law, changed it, and said other people like my parents deserve to come to this country and not be stonewalled through the immigration process. And if, while they're waiting for their green card, because that's what he was doing. This man is from Mexico. He is not an American citizen. He is a Mexican. Sometimes they have kids that come here like DACA. When Obama forgave the DACA kids, that was 20 years ago. So now those kids are in their 20s. They want to carry guns. They want to be in our House of Representatives. See, the thing about, okay, you came here illegally, those parents, and you had your child, and we let your child stay and be raised by a relative, if there was a relative to raise them, and they have, certain rights that you don't have, but they don't have full citizenship. Now, I think that was wrong because they were actually born here. But if you come here and you are born here because your parents committed a crime, the punishment was that you didn't get full citizenship. Why? Because you didn't seek asylum. You came and you broke the law. Right. Okay. So that's why DACA is the way it is. But I still think that if you allow the people who steal into the country to have children in this country and you don't keep them together and ship them out, I sounded crazy when I said this way back then. People are looking at me like, oh, you so cruel. No, I'm not cruel. It's cruel to separate families. Some of these people, they have been in this country and they don't know what their country is. Huh? How is that an America problem? That your parents did something. Why is that America's problem? I don't ever hear Republican or Democrat say your parent did something wrong and now you're paying for it. It's America has to give us reparations for it, because that's what this is. You want a job, you want housing, you want medical, this, that, and that. And so they had to come up with a system back in 20 years ago. So excuse me, I've had bronchitis and I still do. I'm just getting over it because I was supposed to be suing YouTube. But I tell you, I may not like being sick. Another little thing that happened that prevented me from filing. But oh, I am so happy that there was a delay and I didn't file it last week or the week before. The gifts, the gifts, they keep on coming with this election. I said a long time ago, a lot of people don't listen to me on this channel, but I know for a fact the government's listening to me. I know some Democrats are listening to me. And I always knew Donald had his people listening to me. And Matt Gaetz is the Attorney General. How can I say so many things on my video before they happen? Now they're talking about Donald Trump wants a third term. And what does all that have to do with this? And that. You see, all of this is all related. It's all related to, I got my I left it in the room. My little tape recorder that I have, and I tape recorded myself live because YouTube doesn't do me live. And this is supposed to be live, but it's not. So I tape recorded myself live calling Jasmine Crockett's office, and her office, Lady Jasmine or whatever her name is. She's whatever her name is. The Representative Jasmine Crockett's office aide told me, "Oh no, nobody can vote without being here. The migrants aren't allowed to vote." I said, but if they get a resident, they're allowing them to vote after 3 months after establishing a resident. No, they're not allowing them. I said, well, yeah, but I want the bill, the accompanying bill that goes with this bill. Well, it didn't pass in the Senate, and so there is no bill. There is no bill number. I said, yes, there's always an accompanying bill number because these laws are already on the books and they're trying to amend them or append or annotate them. because certain laws that are made that are permanent, you can never take away the original language, but you can add to it if the original language doesn't, if the amended language does not alter the original language, but adds to it. And it's not done as a punishment in certain cases. And there's no ex post facto, no contracts involved. Okay. Sa-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So our good people, and this all happened in 2021 when nobody was listening. And so the news must have gotten a wind that Jasmine Crockett and Margaret Taylor Greene, who you would think are polar opposites and are enemies, but they sit on the JC committee, the Judiciary Committee, the JC, at the House of Representatives. So if you want a law passed, you have to submit every single solitary law through that committee. And then the CRS, the attorneys that get together for the House of Representatives and for the Senate, they review everything and make sure it doesn't violate anything already in existence, that, like that. Okay, that's who those people are. That's all they do for a living. Well, the news media must have gotten a hold of it, because the next thing you know, Margaret Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett talking about eyelashes and this and that, and they done had a whole blown up fight. And I'm like, well, I watch this all the time. I watch the Judiciary Committee all the time. And, they have their closed session, and then they come out of their closed session, and they don't make a big deal about this. And so why would Margaret Taylor Greene, oh, do you know what we're talking about? You don't know what we're talking about. Oh, well, you don't know what we're talking about. Oh, you got to move your eyelashes. Oh, your butch-built body. That whole thing was contrived. And I couldn't figure out why. So I just looked into it just a tad, because I was busy being sued, being kicked out of my apartment for a lease I wouldn't sign. And I signed it, but it was amended. So both parties mutually agreed, which is what I like to have, a mutual agreement. Anyway, so I'm not going to go into this whole thing, but the purpose of me doing this is to show you that I don't know who erased my contract, my comment, YouTube, but my comment was the first section of this, was this, because the person that who made the comment, when I just did the Google search, and the only thing I typed in, I think I typed in the title and the title of the video, and there was somebody who did write an article on it, and he did a good excerpt of it. So I said, most people don't want to go through and read the bill. Well, I came back and that comment was gone. Now it says 3 comments, but that actual comment is not there. Okay. I also got a strike on a private video of me singing 2 songs that I was singing in private. But then they took the strike back because they said, well, the person allows it on YouTube. Yeah, that's why it was on. That's why I was singing it. But why are you airing a private video? Oh, I can't wait to get in court with YouTube. But they're being sued by someone for a decennial amount of money, but the party suing them wasn't released. And then I found out Matt Gaetz is going to be the Attorney General. You cannot make this up. All right. So, to get to this, because you the right people are going to listen to it, but certain people aren't. As I said, the bill was sponsored and co-sponsored by these people originally, and then it came back up again. And it's on November 15th of 2021. Senator Dick Durbin. Here's all the names right here. The people that have an asterisk by their name, they originally sponsored it. And so that's everybody except for Senator Brown. Now, Dianne Feinstein, rest her soul, she's passed away. And so Alexander Padilla, am I saying his right name right? Padilla? Yes, Alex Padilla is the person who is replacing her in this term. So he also has another term somewhere else. So he's serving 2 terms. But when one ends, he'll continue with the next. So we have Senator Dick Durbin or Richard Durbin, Dianne Feinstein. Remember, I said original. She's deceased now. Edward Markey, Cory Booker, Richard Blumenthal, Elizabeth Warren, Bernard Sanders, and yes, you heard me, Bernie. His name is Bernard, Bernie Sanders, and Sherrod Brown. Now, please tell me, if you signed this bill, Bernard, Bernie Sanders, why am I seeing you making the rounds that Democrats are out of touch with what the electorate wanted, and that's why they voted for Donald Trump? Is not your name on this? That does not say second from the bottom. IVT, meaning Vermont. Sanders, Bernard. He calls himself Bernie Sanders. I'm just going to read the title, the 2 titles. So with this video, you'll tell that these people are not telling the truth. Okay. Let me go back here. The title of this is Veteran Deportation Prevention and Reform Act. This is a bill to provide benefits for non-citizen members of the armed forces and for other purposes. It's highlighted because it's hard to see. A bill to provide benefits for non-citizen members of the armed forces. Armed forces are all 4 branches and the Marines. So, because we actually have 5. And for other purposes. Then they sent this to the Senate, and the Senate put it through. Well, this bill limits the deportation of non-citizen veterans and addresses related issues. I don't know why you would want to limit deporting non-citizen, right? In order for this man to even have a possibility of being deported, he would have to be a non-citizen. And he's going around saying, I'm a member of the armed services. I'm a member of the armed forces. No, your visa application is pending. You are not a United States citizen. Therefore, you cannot be part of the armed services. Your application is pending, and you have an attorney paid by us. All of this is footed by Americans. So he is not out of anything. And so I said in one of my comments, and I think that's why they might have taken it down, but to hell with you, this is my opinion. And in America, we can still give an opinion. I don't know anybody who smokes a little weed that don't put a little coke inside a little weed. So that's why your ass got kicked out this country. Our country, not your country. You putting a visa in. And when you put in a visa, you have to wait and get approved. You're not a citizen while you're carrying out your intended contract. See, that's why it says deportation of non-citizens. And then he said, the army did this and the army did that. No, baby, the Senate makes bills. The army does not make laws and bills. This is why Donald Trump is right back in. But it didn't matter if you pick Trump or if you pick Harris. This is she was in Congress when they did this. Because this is the second read. It's not the first time. Anyway. So anyway, specifically, just to get to the 2 points, I'm gonna have to do a timestamp. What is it? 20? All right, this is perfect. So the bill limits the deportation of non-citizens, veterans, and addresses related issues. No federal agency may initiate removal proceedings without asking the individual facing removal whether the individual is a member of the armed forces, a veteran, or a spouse, parent, or minor child of such an individual. If an individual responds yes or in the affirmative, that individual may not be removed until 1. The relevant Department of Homeland Security, DHS, agency has transferred that individual's case to an advisory committee created under this bill. And 2, that advisory committee has provided recommendations as to the outcome of the case. See, they get to control everything. This is Padilla and these fools that changed this law. This is why I said I'm not going to do the whole 14 pages. If you're interested, I put it up here so that you could go to congress.gov. You type in S3212, Veteran Deportation Prevention and Reforms Act. Why do you need to do a Veterans Deportation Prevention Act? You don't need to prevent it from happening. If you have a contract with someone and they violate the contract, that's it. It's done. But my parents, this could have happened to my parents. They could have smoked a cigarette. And there's one foolish lady on the video. She's sitting here talking about they don't even know that they broke the law. It's unfair.
They're immediately deported. As they should be. How can you get deported if you're a United States citizen?
Hold on. Lady. Okay, here.
They're all waiting to come home. We may have been born in other countries, but we were made.
See? Did you hear what he said? And so you're not in exile. You're in your home country. And this little fuck face right here, you look at him. He knows exactly what he's doing. I can't blame him because you have a lot of nerves saying that you're being exiled from your home country. No, you're not being exiled from your home country. You nor anybody else.
Made in the USA. We are U.S. veterans. We are U.S. military, and we deserve to be home with our families.
Yeah, so we're working really hard to try to get a bill to repatriate these veterans that have been deported for nonviolent offenses, like cannabis or things that are nonviolence. And a lot of times they didn't even know that they were not citizens because back in the 90s there was a law put in that you could, you could enlist if you had a green card, if you were a legal resident, and that.
Did you hear her? Back in the 90s, there was a law that you could enlist, and if you had a green card and you had a residence, of which he has none. So if they had this law in the 90s, how is it that we're in 2024 and this law has been, well, I said at the beginning of the video, if you have a permanent law, you cannot make a new law or an amendment that changes what? The original law, right? And you wonder why Trump's back in office. But Kamala was going to do the same thing, just in a different way with a different set of people.
That would qualify you to be a citizen. Well, they didn't ever do the work that they said they were going to do to make them citizens. And a lot of them didn't realize that after serving 4 or 5 years or more, that they were still not citizens. And then to go be honorably discharged. These are honorably discharged
veterans. No, they're not. They weren't even citizens.
Have, some minor infraction.
Now, again, it's people like her that Donald Trump is in office because everybody in the Army, whether you are a citizen or not, you have the Armed Services has an attorney, a league of attorneys that give you legal advice. So when you're in the Army and you're from another country, they provide that same service to you.
All right. Back in the 90s, originally, so this is why this bill is an amendment, and it's being co-sponsored to amend what was originally there. Any old kind of way to let these people into our country. Any and everything. These people could be murderers, child rapers, anything. There's no way to vet them when you let them come in that way. But a lot of them could not. They could be okay. But why have the law? Either get rid of the law and let everybody come and flush out your Americans and have a new slate of Americans that are willing to go out and have all these babies that y'all want to work in y'all rich companies that y'all want. And the Americans that are here, which would be myself included, would just fall by the wayside. And you have yourself a new crop of Americans that replace the ones that are here, right? Y'all giving them ITIN numbers so that they don't have to get Social Security numbers as long as they establish a residence. And when they establish the residence, then they can vote. So why do you need immigration at all? Immigration took 7 years, not because it was intended to take 5 to 7 years, because people in America die off at a certain amount of time. And if you want your country to change from America to Colombia or El Salvador or Africa or Laos, where every time you turn around, when you do your arms out like this, you touching another motherfucker. That's what's going to happen if you get rid of immigration, because we are not dying off that fast. Despite the fact that some people say, they're putting stuff in our food and this and that. Well, the thing about the myth about that is you can't put it in our food without it getting in your food. How rich you think you are, and you grow your food in your own land, somebody gonna know where it's at and go in there and poison your land. So it's not a good idea to start thinking. So no, we're not going to poison food, because everybody's food get poisoned. And the thing about poison, it's not going to say, oh, you know what, you rich, we're not going to poison your blood. You're going to die just like the rest of us. So that's why when I hear these little theories, I'm like, this. Somebody might have wanted to get rid of somebody, but that's. So the rest of this is easy enough to read. DHS must create a system to share the information across various agencies about non-citizen veterans who may be subject to removal to ensure. And the reason they're calling them non-citizen veterans is because they keep saying we're veterans of the United States. You are not. You are a veteran of the armed forces. It's no different than if we went over there and we helped Ukraine. It's no different. That doesn't make us part of the Ukraine's government. It's just that some people in our armed services that were veterans went over to Ukraine and volunteered their services. So you can be paid non-citizen veteran, or you can be a non-paid citizen, non-citizen veteran in any country, in any place in the world. And so they're twisting it to make it seem, and that's why I said the guy in the video, if you anger people, excuse me, I gotta go. If you're going to say things to anger people, you should give them all the information, because these are the people that they keep voting in. And so that little war that I was talking about in 2021, 2022, and 2023, I don't mean an all-out war. The armies is going to come to the street and get us. I'm talking about the war, baby. People about to get their ass kicked. And I'm going to sit back with my Leon Tone Price. Anyway, I got to go. DHS shall also create a system for identifying non-citizens who are or may be veterans, and collecting data relating to such non-citizens who are in removal proceedings and may have been removed, subject to removal, to ensure that such a veteran's military service is taken into consideration in immigration-related cases. So if you are a citizen of the United States, you don't have a related or an interrelated immigration case. I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a veteran. Maybe nobody explained it to him. You are a veteran, but you're not a veteran of the United States Army. DHS and the Department of Defense must jointly carry out a program to naturalize a non-citizen and certain family members if the non-citizen serves on active duty in the armed forces and is not otherwise ineligible for citizenship if that non-citizen submits an application. So that's what he did. He submitted an application with his non-citizen self so that he could bypass the immigration for him and his family. Then he went out and he got high and found in the system. And we know that weed is a gateway drug to more higher drugs. And you're already coming from Mexico, which is, so you're not of good character, sir. And I'm sure your family is disappointed in you, but these are the choices that you made. But in the meantime, you now have our training, right? And now you can take it back and teach the cartel, because everybody says, how does the cartel and the little kids running around the street in Mexico and El Salvador, how do they know about these advanced things? Because stupidly, we are training people. And then they're getting high and going back home. And, oh, we're so upset. We're in exile for 11 years. And so you put this man in particular, been in exile for 11 years, showing everybody everything he learned. While he waits and stews it out until y'all bring him back and let him back in and teach him something else that he could, all the little connections he done set up. y'all. Oh, y'all. So you see channels like Michi X, and they keep saying, get ready. We're going to be, it's stuff coming. Y'all don't know how to even clean y'all water. Y'all don't know how to do this and do that. Okay. All right. Don't get ready. Because see, I got myself, and I'm going to be responsible for myself. My kids are grown. They know how to take care of themselves and their kids. And it's going to happen here in America. And we just don't have to sit and wait it out. We got to hunker down and sit and wait it out. And so I'm trying to get my legal permit to get my gun in my home, in case an intruder breaks in. But when all that other foolishness starts happening, I'm going to have a gun in my home, whether the government gives me one to legally have in here or not, because I'm not going to be a sitting duck. And we are allowed as citizens to have guns in our homes. Y'all letting them have guns. Y'all training them. And they all over our country, acting like they innocent and they just here to work. They here to take over, fools. But they ain't going to start with people like me, because I have no power. I have no say-so. They don't really start with people in the hood. In the hood, and where they want to live is just a place for them to have their little camps set up. They're all throughout the FBI, because it started 20 years ago with people like Padilla. They're all throughout the government. Why do you think the white people put Donald Trump back in office? Why do you think black people sat Donald Trump back in office? I wasn't voting for neither one of them. Voted for myself. Lastly, DHS must also establish a program for eligible non-citizen veterans, generally those not convicted for certain serious crimes, to obtain permanent resident status. And when you put the word must in something, it takes, when Congress makes a law, the words must and shall, then that is what must and shall happen. So that if it goes before a court, even the highest court, there's no discrepancy. There's no it's not ambiguous as to what the language of the law means. It meant that they must do this. They must bring them. But I could guarantee you the 1990 law doesn't say must. So this is why when people get upset, it irritates me that they would go out and kill a judge, because it's judges that have to sit through this and read through all this when your ignorant ass not going to do it. And if you kill off all the good judges that would sit through and look at the word must and shall and get rid of this bullshit law and say, no, you go back and you amend this and you put in what is supposed to be there. Even if you don't agree with every decision they make, most judges will make the correct decision, because you most likely you'll have an attorney. The two opposing attorneys will point this out to the judge, or a judge will read it, because this wasn't the original law. Just like Kamala Harris was not born in the United States and she cannot be the president. Just like Donald Trump cannot have a third term. Some people are afraid of that. Donald Trump wants a third term. That just means that he's going to run as somebody's vice president. Not that he is going to be the president again. He cannot. He cannot be the president a third time. He's not talking about changing the Constitution. Nobody on either side, Democrat or Republican, is going to do that and change the Constitution for Donald Trump. Because if you do that, you invite lawlessness. As soon as the first person changes the Constitution to allow Donald or anybody else to run for a third term, the people in this country that are lawless already, that are waiting, give them a reason. Because they're already on the edge. They're already on the precipice of doing what they're going to do. They just need just a little tap. So there's nobody that's going to, that's like that fool last night, Paul John, who got in Mike Tyson's face and got just a little pat. And the whole side of his face, his ear, his neck all red. And when he turned on the other side, ain't nothing on it. That was a little sissy slap. He hit like a girl. Well, please don't ever hit me, sir. Because your whole got a handprint on. Why would you antagonize Mike Tyson and you know you're going to fight him the next night? You better hope that man don't turn your brain, what's left of it, into soup. Okay. So DHS must also establish a program for eligible non-citizen veterans, generally those not convicted for certain serious crimes, to obtain permanent resident status. Similarly, the Department of Justice must provide permanent resident status to such eligible veterans in removal proceedings. This last thing was just added in on some bullshit. It's not even legal. I'm not going to read the rest. I'm not interested. But for those of you who, I don't have a lot to say about the election. Like I said in one of my things before, Kamala Harris had as much chance of winning as Golda Harris had. Not just because she's a woman, but she's not an American citizen. And I'll do a video on it in another time. I did one already. But people want to believe what they want to believe. Oh, so let them believe it. All right, I gotta go. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. And I was really just trying to stay woke. But YouTube, I don't know if I'm going to get around to filing my lawsuit this week. This year. Because I do have to do what I have to do. But let me go look at Martin.
Guts to say, he should have said it. This is not a conversation.
All right. Have a good night. Oh, that's 39:42. All right. I'm going to make a second video and cut that up. Toodles.